start at the beginning, and the beginning started with what touted to be a cracking encounter, or would be. Like I say, I'm always hesitant with these big games as the first game of the season. I don't think teams are at their best. You don't get maybe the best showcase of football. But what did you make of Friday night's encounter that saw Mamelodi Sundowns get the victory against AmaZulu? Starting with you, Brighton. Welcome.
Oh, well, obviously, good evening to the viewers as well. And thanks for this opportunity, Kamza. Look, I think the main important thing is to give credit to Mamelodi Sundowns. I mean, they stuck their guns out, and then the coaches, obviously, they stick to the team that played Kaizer Chiefs. And they were the same Mamelodi Sundowns. I mean, good ball retention. They showed good tactical superiority as always. And I mean, I was impressed by the counter press that they were showing on the game. They didn't give AmaZulu enough time on the ball. And obviously, you know how it is. You limit time and space. That's the most important thing in football these nowadays when you don't have the ball. And when you have the ball, you need to be decisive. And I think that decisiveness, it did pay off at the end, because you could see how they were moving the ball around very quickly. And both their fullbacks, they were creating problems because they were bombing forward. And they were creating an overload, it was very difficult for the AmaZulu defense to cope with that. So I think they did well. However, I feel like they still need a bit of work. Like you've mentioned, it's still beginning of the season. They still need a bit of work in terms of the negative transition. As soon as they lose the ball, I think there's a bit of lapse of concentration and a bit of, lethargic body positioning from the center back pairing and the center midfielders pairing. So that needs a bit of work, but overall, it wasn't bad. I mean, they have a good depth of squad, and you could see with the subs as well, although there was not enough time for some of the players. But I mean, you could see Morena came in, he did well, almost created an assist as well. And then, I mean, Grant Genkana as well stands out for me because he came in to reinforce the defense. And he did well. He made some exceptional clearances out there. So overall, they're looking sharp and ready to defend their title.
Eddie, I guess some would say they were picking up right where they left off, but with some, shiny new pieces to add to the arsenal.
Good evening, Kamza, and then give good evening to the viewers. I think, I do agree with Benson. Sorry, Brighton. My bad. Brighton. I think, you could say that Sundowns, I think they started very well, and showing why they are the champions. And I mean, you could not take anything away from them. I mean, if you look at the bench, if you look at Roland from the bench, the way you are so furious, whenever they miss a chance, that shows you that they know exactly where they want to go. And Sundowns, you know what, we still have to see it. That is going to match them and be prepared to beat them. I mean, Tembazwani, outstanding. I mean, you look at everything that he does, always there in the right time, right places. And if you look at even the bench of Sundowns, anybody that comes in make a difference. So I think Sundowns still has it, and I'm pretty much sure that they will still win the DSTV championship.
Tim, on your side, what do you make of how Sundowns took to the field? Considering, on both sides, Benny, for him, this is pretty much the core of the team he's looking to, sustain these challenges on many fronts. Yes, we understand there's players that are still going to come back into the fold. But were you convinced, especially up against a side like Sundowns, who they're trying to be like, that there was enough in their performance to show that they could be, able to upset them, even though the result didn't go their way this Friday? It's a long season. But from what you saw from Sundowns and on the other side, AmaZulu, how far away are they from each other as far as quality?
Look, it was a very good game of football, given the fact that it's the beginning of the season. I tried to put into consideration the preparation. That's the pre-season. That's the loading of the players so that they can be able to sustain themselves for the whole season. So from the display, I could tell that AmaZulu had loaded their players more than Sundowns. Sundowns was more managing their players on how to cope. Having won the league title, having had so many games, I could have a feeling that it's more of managing the players how to cope, not to overload, vis-a-vis what AmaZulu, had done with the loading of the players to try and compete both on the league and the continental level. So if you look at the ball retention of Sundowns was a marvel to watch, and also could understand that as the game progressed, you could have a feeling that AmaZulu was getting into the groove of it, and that's what always happens after the start of the season, after that heavy load of the preseason. As the game goes on, the body gets it starts adopting well, and it becomes very competitive. That's what we saw AmaZulu towards the end of the league. But there are some exceptional players like Domingos when he was playing. Sundowns, you could expect them to play the way they did. But for me, what was very fundamental was how they were pressing and willing to win the ball and try to punish the opponent. And if they can master that, I can guarantee you that yes, they won't win the league, but they will be able to be challengers to defend the league title.
Yeah, I mean, Brighton, to that point, it's something that Rivaldo brought up in his post-match was, just how, it wasn't an easy ride. It wasn't an easy ride at all. And I mean, also in defense, De Ruyck made a critical block that could have put AmaZulu back in the reckoning. They didn't have it all their own way, but composure, calm, and, fighting spirit, as their coaches will have pointed out. That's what kind of saw them through that result.
Yeah, look, I think besides the fighting spirit and everything, I think what stands out most for Mamelodi Sundowns is that tactically they're growing very stronger and stronger each and every game. You can see that it's becoming an old machine. It's been, like that for previous seasons and so forth. But like I've mentioned earlier on, I think it's just those minor things whereby I think the body positioning, like I've mentioned, I think the negative transition as soon as they lose the ball. I think there are times whereby when the game goes on and keeps dragging, they lose some sort of concentration. And against Kaizer Chiefs, it worked against them where they got punished twice, and at least this game, luckily they didn't get to concede, but you could see the signs here and there. You can allude to what Riva is saying, because most importantly, once you see your center backs separate, that's where you're going to have a problem. A goal chance is bound to be created from that. So a center back and defensive central midfielders, once they get lost in the middle of the park, that's when you get to create chances and all those openings for the opponents. So I could agree with what they're saying, but again, looking at how AmaZulu played, they're still trying to find the right combinations with the new pairings, the center back and the central midfielders as well, and obviously the absentees of the influential players of the likes of Luvuyo Memela and Augustine Mulenga, which obviously they've been very influential in their goal scoring opportunities, ratios, and so forth, and obviously with the changes they made up front as well, which make you wonder, because Majoro scored the goal the previous game and then suddenly was dropped to the bench again. And when he came on, he missed a sitter as well. So all those kind of things, you can see that he's still trying out to find combinations. He's still trying to find their feet. And once they find their feet, I think there'll be a force to be reckoned with,
Yeah, I'm wondering, in a weekend where we saw strikers make a hot start, do you gentlemen maybe think Nduli's put himself under a bit of pressure? Because, once everybody is fighting fit, I don't know. I feel that he runs the risk of being the forgotten man. Yes, it's a long campaign. Yes, there'll be many football games to play. But if he's not on form, then, you feel like that there's a lot of ways that they can rejig the system to accommodate other players. And right now, he's just more a function of, just having to deal with what the coach has at the moment. Tim, looking at that as a defender, would you be threatened by the way he has played at the weekend? And like I say, other strikers, not even just in our league, came out fighting at the weekend by getting their first goals of the league season.
Look, it's very important, for me, if you're managed by Benny, I think you are at an advantage because you are sharing the platform with somebody who has been there and done it. as a striker, you're going to go through moments when you're not finding the back of the net. And I believe that's the time when, as a striker, you should play for the team. That's when you should run into the channels, hold on to the ball, make sure that your midfield players link up play to join and create those pockets in the back line of the opponent and score goals. So it's not important, it's not definite that you should always score. But for me, if a striker is creating those other opportunities for the likes of other strikers and midfielder to score and the team wins, I'll give it to the striker than himself scoring.
Okay, and then Eddie, I mean, this battle for supremacy is not going to end just here, because we know with Sundowns, as long as the transfer window is open, they could still get stronger. I mean, could you ascertain any deficiencies, any departments? Kennedy Mwene started again in goal. You've obviously got Onyango, who's still very capable. Now there's rumors that Ronwen Williams is one of their targets. Do they really need that? I mean, is that the missing part of piece of the puzzle, or is it just a case of holding with what they have and moving forward? Sundowns fans, if you're watching, and you can comment in the chat on our YouTube stream, does Sundowns need any more pieces for the puzzle? I mean, especially in that department, because Ricardo Goss is also still there. So, I mean, Eddie, do they, are they sorted? Are they nice? Or do you fear, as a fan of another team, that they might still go out there and do more business?
I think, Sundowns, with their intentions of winning the DSTV championship, and I'm sure also that they want to win, the CAF championship. I think from there, once winning it, then you go to club, championship. So I think that's where Sundowns are aiming. So if they are interested in Rowan Williams, that means their intentions are true. Then why not now then beef up even, let's say Onyango is injured and then we have got Mane again injured. Even if we have got two goalkeepers that are injured, then you still have one of the best goalkeepers in South Africa who would want to have him. Sundowns, if they want to have him, I think he's also he's a good add-on to Sundowns. With their intentions, I think it would be good for them.
Yeah, look, to add on what Eddie is saying as well, I think we shouldn't forget the main important fundamental piece here, to say, look, we're looking to continue beefing up the squad, and at the same time, we're looking to build a championship winning material team. Therefore, how do we go on to do so without destabilizing the team as a whole? Because you find that these days, most teams, when we make signings, we're too quick to introduce these players without having given them the time to integrate with the older players that are within the structures, you understand? So therefore, you find that there's a Dennis Onyango, who's, at what age now? 36, 37, somewhere there. And then while he's playing, obviously he's about to retire or to be injury prone. Therefore, you need a very suitable replacement ready, whom has at least a bit of experience and who has played continental competition, and at least who still has age on his side. So if they do have a chance to do so, why not? And especially it creates good competition, and at the same time it puts the team at a good place to compete for higher honors.
That's an interesting one.
Even Kennedy Mwene also is, I think, 38, 39 also.
Yeah.
There's also Riyad Peterse, guys, but I get your point. I think I was going to bring up the point about Riyad Peterse until Brighton said continental experience. I think for me, that's when you kind of validated why they would go for someone like Ronwen. So that you've justified it with that, but I mean, can it get to a point?
I wasn't ready for the fire that was coming my way.
Well, gents, I didn't let the guys finish. So if there is some friendly fire that's going the way of Brighton, gentlemen, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
So if I'm to consult for Rowan Williams, I would advise him to stay put at SuperSport. Currently is the current national team goalkeeper.
Yeah,
is having much needed game time. That game time has made him what he is today. Now you can always raise the age factor. I think that the goalkeepers are always gifted. They can go over and above 40, performing well. And I'm not seeing in the likes of Onyango and Kennedy Mwini willing to hang up their gloves soon, unless.
But they need a push, Pratim. They need a push. I mean, at the end of the day, on Ronwen's side, you could say game time, it's fine, but you want honors as well to accompany that. He wants to win something. He wants to win. He needs a new challenge as well, because he could be very complacent at SuperSport and not get the push that he needs to be the best or to reach his ultimate peak that we want to see in him.
But already what we have seen at SuperSport is bringing the best out of him. Now, I can guarantee you that in my experience in the PSL League, few teams and few players are mature enough to understand that maybe they are feeling a niggle somewhere, and they can allow an equally good goalkeeper or fellow player to play. They will continue want to play. So you're having types of Dennis Onyango, having retired from the national team, rumored to be to go back to the national team. You have got Kennedy Mwini, you have got Reinhard. Him going in there is not going to have the much needed game time, for him to be that competitive back to the national team. I can guarantee you that may affect his selection. We very well know that as long as he's not competing week in, week out, we're going to have a Kune scenario where you're just him to be a backup goalkeeper on the national squad. You don't need that. For me, career-wise, it will be suicidal for him at this moment in time to go.
Good point. Good point.
That's a good point.
Talk about money, but he can equally make good money at SuperSport being still the number one goalkeeper.
No,
and he has time on his
money.
hands. And he has time on his
money.
hands.
Yeah, we're not talking money. I think our point here should be in terms of
winning things.
Growing your to a different level, you understand? And you need a little push sometimes, whereby you don't get too complacent, because yes, we can say week in, week out you're playing, but are you getting the push to reach your ultimate peak that we want to see you in? Because now there'll be questions in terms of, I mean, I've seen questions in terms of, well, he's doing well at SuperSport, we think, and then national team, has he produced the same results, for the national team? It's been a difficult one to answer. So what is the difference between that? And then that's where you see the difference to say, am I competing at the same level between country club and to national team level? So I think sometimes, much as I can agree with Pratim what he's saying, you wouldn't want to risk losing your sport, but at the same time, to better yourself and to challenge for top honors, you need to be amongst the best every time.
Okay, I hear your point, Brighton. I think, Eddie, if I'm hearing him right, it's to be coached better, to be around better systems that'll extract the true value of you as a player. It's like, sometimes it's the difference between if a player is asked to go be coached by Pep, you're going to want that, because there might be financial implications, 100%. But at the same time, it's the coaching, it's the level of, how much better can I be? And I think that would be the question at the heart of any move that Ronwen would look at. What do you think?
100%.
No, absolutely. I mean, I do agree with Brighton. To be the best, you need to play with the best. And now for him to go to Sundowns, now everybody now is looking to see who's going to be the first choice. As Brighton has said, there are honors also too that to be played for. Once you get your opportunity to play, grab it, like what these other guys have been doing. Yes, we understand there's Mini there, then there's Onyango. But once you get your opportunity to go and play, then grab it, and then you be the number one. Remember, he is still South Africa number one. So once you get your opportunity there at Sundowns, then that's it. Because he needs to have honors. Let's just be real. Do we see SuperSport playing in the CAF Champions finals?
Not anytime soon. And we need that experience.
Exactly. So if you go to Sundowns, chances are very high that he is going to be playing there. Exactly. So now, but if we say stay at SuperSport and then play week in, week out, then how do you know that he is the best? He must
getting the exposure.
Yes, he must get competition from these experienced guys. They can even guide him also too. Better coaching, as Kamil said, and then better team.
Yeah, and the experience competing in continental will also benefit now subsequently rub into the national team, because now you'll get the experience, the much needed experience that we need, because now you can see the difference in terms of when we're playing league games and having to switch to play continental football, it's two different things. And some of our players, they kind of struggle to adapt quickly to that, to that environment. Therefore, it leads back to, do we have enough exposure into continental football? You understand? So that's where now it comes in terms of helping the national team, because yes, the clubs are doing well. We're doing well. We're having different teams now competing in the continental football. But as a nation, where are we going? Because it seems like now the clubs are progressing. Sundowns won the Champions League, Chiefs were in the final. But where are we as a country in the national team football? We haven't even qualified for the AFCON, so to speak. You understand? So we need to look at it that way, to say grassroots, where are we missing it? Are we competing in the right way? Are we competing with the right people? And are we doing it right? That's the whole question that we need to ask ourselves.
For me, Eddie and Mtongo, I would still insist that the epitome of every player is the national team. There's no experience that beats the national team ever.
Yeah.
We have the clubs playing continental, and the clubs feed into the national team. That's for sure. But I'm looking at Rowan. The reason why he's wanted at this moment in time is equally good.
Yeah, definitely.
So I will disagree to put Rowan Williams in a position to compare him with Onyango and Kennedy to see who is the best. And he's wasted at Sundowns. We have seen, in my experience, I've seen players get wasted because they are making that transfer. I would prefer a player to prove that he's good equally where he is. And he has proven that. And he's on the national team. And remember, you have a player of his caliber that has come through the ranks. Now we are looking, we are trying to compare, is he good enough if he's competing with other equally good goalkeepers? I think that is wrong. In my understanding, the reason why Sundowns would love to have him as a backup is when called upon, he can equally do the job that is required of him. So that's the.
But we're not sure if he's going as a backup. We're not sure, and we're not saying Onyango. Who said Onyango cannot be replaced? Who said Onyango cannot be replaced? I believe that Ricardo Kos stepped in a couple of times. He did well. He's an exceptional goalkeeper who's ready to replace anyone at any time soon. I mean, he went to the national team and he made his debut against I think it was Zambia or Botswana. I think it was Zambia when they played a friendly. And he did well. You understand? So I believe now we need to change this misconception within our coaching structures to say, if there's a player, I believe that's what Baxter did over the weekend, but we'll touch on that later on. But I think we need to change the misconception from the society as a whole to say, if we have a number one, and if he's not doing well, and there's someone below him or behind him who's doing exceptionally well, why can't we give him the chance to shine as well? You understand? So we cannot say so-and-so owns a position. We cannot say you are coming in as a backup. You're going in there as a Sundowns player who's willing to compete and fight for his jersey finish. Okay. And then from there, you grab, like Eddie has alluded to that. If you grab your opportunity, then chop all down, you are the number one, then we're going forward. And you've done it,
Okay, let's move on to Benny McCarthy's comments after the match. He got asked in terms of the chairman wanting some sort of silverware, and Benny was like, well, he can desire what he desires, but it doesn't work like that, or something to that effect. Essentially saying that, hey, no, man, chairman must hold his horses. I might give him something, maybe, but it's not a given. Considering the support, somewhat of the investment, the many fronts that he'll be fighting on. Because I don't know. I think maybe as management, you think we're fighting on a couple of fronts. One, fighting against Pope somewhere. And then the coach will be like, actually, that might be the reason why we don't get anything, is because we have a lot of things to do and might be stretched. So who has the stronger, case here? Is it the chairman who's like, listen, you've got options, you've got CAF, you've got local competition in the net bank, you've got the league, win something? Or is it Benny that's saying, well, the fact that I have CAF, the fact that I'll have net bank, the fact that I'll have the league might mean I don't? Who's right?
I think Kamza, this goes in two ways. I mean, if you look at the chairman, checkbook, get the players that you want, once you get that, here's the mandate for you. This is what I want, because I've given you the checkbook. You got the players that you need. So now let's have silverware. Yes, I understand. I mean, if you listen very closely to Benny's post-match interview, he was very impressed with his players, the way that they played, and according also to his tactics, that exactly what they wanted to do against Sundowns. He said, we came here, we did that. They also created chances of which they would have scored. If they had scored that, I think it was going to change the complex of the game. But now, when there is pressure, when you ask the chairman for an open checkbook and you get the players that you need, now you need to deliver. That's the sad part about it. So if you don't, then I'll fire you.
Okay, is that how it works? I mean, Tim, we can't hear you. I don't know that we're having a slight problem with the mic, but I'm gonna pose the question to you. To Eddie's point, you know, they've got the likes of Eckstein still waiting. You got Talinge who's still outside. You got Musonda still outside. You've got, you know, all these players. Mamela, you know, has the time for excuses. You know, come like, well, he can't make any excuses. Rather, Benny McCarthy, because he's gotten the support, like Eddie said.
I love Benny, and I would love to see many of such coaches caliber in the PSL. At this moment in time, Benny is trying to put it clear that I should tell you that we should be able to give you a trophy. You should remain in the boardroom, and I remain in charge of the dressing room. For me, I love Benny for that. It's very important to draw a clear cut. Yes, there's money being thrown around worldwide when it comes to getting players and everything like that, but it does not automatically win you trophies. It may improve or increase your chances of winning a trophy, but managing the team to win trophies is very different. We saw it with Pizzo before he started winning trophies. We have seen it with Pep, the likes of Jose Mourinho. You cannot buy a trophy; you need to win a trophy. So I think Benny tactically managed to try and take away the attention and the pressure from his players. And I think that was a masterstroke from Benny. And in the boardroom, they'll try to manage it well. But in the public domain, I think I give kudos to handling it better.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Mbulelo Gavin says, I think management is putting pressure on him now from recent results, losing Premier Cup, MTN 8 upset, and losing the opening game. You know, I don't know. Maybe the chairman wouldn't have envisaged a start like this, Brighton, but it is what it is. And maybe to that point of, you know, managing his expectations as a coach. Do you agree that's the way to do it, the way that he handled it at the weekend?
Yeah, look, I think I totally agree with Pratim, what he's saying. And at the same time, I feel like we really do need coaches who will stamp their authorities, because that really shows that he's willing to put his neck on the block for his players, you understand? And having said that, I mean, going back to the chairman's mandate or his expectations and so forth.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say yes, much as he's talking from the chairman's perspective, you need to look at it in a way that, look, these guys, they did well last season, but we mustn't forget that they were in a building phase. Yes, things might have worked out for them very quickly than expected, but at the same time, he needs to understand that they're still in the building phase. So he needs to trust the process, because now we've mentioned so many trophies that they were talking about. But ever heard of the saying whereby you have a whole lot of things in your hand, you're bound to drop something that's very important, you know, one way or the other you will. So I think right now, the main important thing, he must still focus on building and having that continuity to say, look, we did well last season, but right now, let's try and push even further if possible. But the main important thing is to make sure that we still maintain the playing strategy, the playing philosophy, and the culture of the team. I think that's the most important thing that they need to adapt into, you know. So I think, yeah, because the main important thing is to always redeem the culture of the team, because they had already lost that with the previous owners, with the previous coaches and all the changes that had happened. And when Benny stepped in, he managed to regain that, and then they finished well. So we need to work on sustaining that, because we have teams who come on and they play well, and then they are called one hit wonders and so forth. The main important thing right now is just to make sure that they continue rebuilding and growing the brand of AmaZulu football. the rest shall follow and it will fall into place.
Well, let's see, because, obviously when, Benny arrived, he promised things. The chairman wanted the top four. Benny gave him second place. Anything better than second place is first place. But has Benny bought himself time by delivering ahead of schedule? Something tells me he hasn't. That's not how it's looked at, even though he has surpassed the mandate that he was given initially.